Okay, so we're gonna get started. Try to start on time. Not everybody's on time all the time, but we already have a few people joining, so we're gonna get started. Okay. Again, my name's Sebastian. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for showing up for this live training session. I really hope that you guys get a lot of value out from this. My intention here is to show you our actual blueprint I was promoting here of how we promote private events and how we get results for our clients doing, marketing for private events. And so you can hopefully grab all this information and put it to practice in your restaurant. And of course, if you need help for this particular service, you need help with this, we'll talk at the end of the session. Anyways, all right, so let's get started. So need your attention, please, here, just for sure, please turn off your cell phones, make sure that you're not distracted with social media or anything so you can get the most out of this. And it's going to take about 45 minutes to go through the entire presentation. And again, at the end, we'll open it for Q&A. So who am I? What should you listen to me? This is not to brag. This is just to give you a little bit of background because of the experience that I have over 17 years in the restaurant industry, in the hospitality industry, actually. Been in operations all over the place in restaurants. And of course, I was head of marketing for 8 years for a hospitality group in Florida. So done everything under the sun when it comes to restaurants, especially in marketing. So we've published a book. If you guys want to get it, you're interested, just go to Amazon. You can get it, The Restaurant Marketing Insider. It's about strategy, right? And so it's pretty detailed. So if you guys are interested, you can find it there. We work with restaurants across the US, and we have a track record of 98% retention rate, meaning clients are happy with the results that they get with us, working with us, and they stay with us. Okay, so here's some of our testimonials. You guys can look at that later. And what we're going to be covering today, being very specific, we're going to talk first the basics, right? Like, why private events? Okay, so why would you be interested in increasing your sales for private events? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but we're going to go through those details because, of course, the landscape in the restaurant industry has, changed quite a bit, as you know. Common pitfalls, we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at strategy. Then we're going to look at the paid ad strategy, which is really what this whole session is about, right? This is the meat and potatoes of the session. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do paid ads on 2 platforms, both on Meta and on Google, how to do it correctly and how to generate a consistent flow of leads and how to close those things, how to get closer to that, okay? So live case studies, we're going to show you some examples of that. And then also, again, the details of how we do everything. And again, we'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, so why private events? As you guys know, this is no new news, but basically raising real estate costs. We know that everything's just more expensive now, so we have to utilize the spaces that we have as much as possible. Thinning margins, that's no new news, right? We know that that's what's happening in the restaurants. There's high labor costs and then high food costs, right? So what are the opportunities with events? As you guys know, again, as I mentioned, utilization, high ticket sales, right? And then you can control your costs when it comes to labor and food, right? We're doing preset menus and all that stuff. Then there's also customer acquisition and loyalty, meaning you've provided a great experience. Once you have them in there, they can bring it back to your restaurant. And then high demand. There is a high demand for private events, especially, of course, for full service restaurants. Okay. So anyways, let's get into this. Common pitfalls. So what happens normally, and as we see this a lot with all the restaurants that we work with, when it comes to private events, there's no really defined strategy. Okay, so in many cases that happens because everybody's focused on the dine-in traffic, and yes, they do have the event spaces, but it's kind of an afterthought. Okay, and that was my own experience also when I was part of this hospitality group. We did have, of course, private event spaces in a few of our restaurants, and we did pay some attention to it, but not 100%. So there wasn't. So we had to work towards really building a strategy for this because it's a huge potential in revenue, right? So what it can really represent for a restaurant, and especially these days. Okay, so that's what happens. There's an inadequate online presence. So that means when you look at their websites, the restaurants' websites, when you look at the private events page, sometimes there isn't even a private events page. When if there's one, it's not really optimized for conversion, meaning it's not providing all the information that people are looking for, and it's not easy to actually request information many times, okay? So the layout of this is important. And then also when it comes to your Google presence, right? Do you have the strategies in place so people can find you if you have it listed in your Google listing, like all of these things that you can do so people can find you, okay? Over reliance on word of mouth. Again, just many restaurants decide, yes, let's just focus on operations, or they're just focused, oh yeah, they're going to refer to us. That's how we get the business. And they're happy with that for a certain time. If the restaurant is doing well, people will refer them, and then people come in. And for private events, that's kind of how it happens. But again, there's no defined strategy, right? So it limits their growth potential. Okay. Misplaced responsibility. An events manager, if they have an events manager, they want that events manager to do everything, and that's impossible, right? So they're expecting the events manager to not just respond to all incoming leads quickly, but also follow up with them, and then also do sales calls, and then also setting up the events, and then, basically doing all the work. And it's really difficult with one person being able to do all of that work. Okay. Limited marketing budget. This is pretty common, of course, in the restaurant world. Oh, there's not enough budget, whatever it is. They're assigning you the budget for other things, but they're not assigning a budget specifically for this, which can actually grow their revenue quite a bit, right? So there's that happens often. Neglecting partnership opportunities. This is just, again, they get some, let's say, get a corporate client, and they're just not following up and building those relationships so they can continue to get those recurring clients and referrals. Okay, lack of follow-up on inquiries. That's something that we see a lot. Restaurants, if they have a good website, or even if they don't, but people are interested, they're submitting information, right? They want to get information for private events, and nobody's really following up. Okay, so just to give you an average, we see about 10 to 15% close rate of all the leads that are coming through your website. So that means nobody's really following up in the moment, because it's really important that it happens in the moment. Okay, so this is just some of the things that are happening. So what's the right strategy for this? Again, we're encompassing everything right now, just so you guys get a global view of what needs to be done. But today we're going to focus on the paid ads strategy, okay? And I'm going to give you that blueprint so you can implement it yourself, okay? But these are the things that you need to have in place regardless, okay? In addition to, okay, so optimized website page, like I mentioned, it needs to make sense. It needs to be outlined correctly so people can see all the information. If you can provide menus, if you can provide a clear call to action, a form that they can fill out quickly, efficiently, and they can get to the right person, and that person gets notified in the proper way so they can follow up and hopefully, of course, close that sale, okay? Customer database, use your customer database if you have one. If not, I strongly suggest to start building one. This is not the subject today, but it's something that we need to do. But if you have one, of course, you can be sending out information on your private event spaces to your database. Sometimes, again, it's an afterthought because we're focused on promotions, we're focused on menus, we're focused on all these other activities that we might be doing in terms of marketing for the restaurant, and we're forgetting a little bit of private events, unless it's a season like graduations or something like that, okay? But this needs to be a recurring theme in everything that you're doing. In-store collateral and promotion, of course, train your team. Your team is your biggest marketer, biggest sales and marketing team of all, because that's the most important. If they are trained, if you teach them about what you are, about what you have, what you offer, and then they actually inform your guests. Again, you get hundreds of guests hopefully in your restaurant every day, so that's a really easy way to communicate it. Okay, SEO strategy in Google My Business listing, important to have. Again, we're not going to get into SEO, but then the idea behind SEO is that if people are searching online for you, and they're searching for private events, restaurants with private dining venues, or restaurants with private event areas, or anything like that, they will find you. Okay, we're not going to get into that strategy right now, but that's something to consider. Paid advertising, again, we're going to get into that. Corporate partnerships, content marketing, customer testimonials and reviews, of course, showcase those everywhere. And virtual tours, if you can do that, there's some really cool ways that you can do that. You can showcase a whole tour of your spaces, so then people can have it on your site. When they visit there, they can really see what you're about, what you have to offer. Okay, event showcases. I'm sure most of you guys, or some of you guys have already done it, but yeah, showcase your spaces when people are coming in, opening them up, showcase them, and have some type of display, something that people can see that you have this service available. All right. And just one thing to mention here quickly, if you don't have actual private rooms, but you have a large enough restaurant which you can section and you can create semi-private events, that still works. Okay, we see really good results with that. Okay, so why paid ads should be part of your marketing strategy. Okay, first of all, you're going to start up showing up quickly. Okay, with other stuff, it needs to build over time. With paid ads, you show up immediately. Show up as often as possible where your prospects are looking. That relates really to Google, but also on social. When they're scrolling on social, you're going to get in front of them. Okay, and you're going to show up in front of them where they're actually searching on Google, right? When they're searching for restaurants, you can show up quickly there. Okay, so they get more chances of getting in leads. Unlimited scalability. That's the way it is. You can scale it if you do it properly, right? It just doesn't stop. All right, so why do most paid ad campaigns fail? Okay, there's a lot of reasons, but these are the most common ones. First, there's a lack of understanding how platforms work. Okay, so each one of them has its complexities, and you can't expect, let's say, a director of marketing with the, well, this happens normally also in restaurants, depending on the size. They hire one person for marketing, right? And that's it. And they expect that person to execute on paid ads, on email, on, all the different digital channels that they are, and execute great. And that's not going to happen because that person is probably not super well versed in each of these platforms, right? So it is important to understand that. Not reaching the right audience. This is super common too, right? And we see a lot of restaurants boosting posts, right? They tell me when we talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing in terms of social? Oh yeah, well, we're doing, we're posting and then we're boosting posts. If you're boosting posts, you're throwing away your money, okay? Because Facebook loves to do that, right? So if you do that, it's just going to go everywhere and anywhere in terms of the audience, and it's not going to go to the right people. So we see that. They only set up one ad group. That means you have to understand how people are searching for private events, okay? Because they're searching for occasions. So for example, I want to have a baby shower. So they'll be looking for restaurants perfect for baby showers, right? Or they want to hold a wedding rehearsal dinner. So they're going to be looking for all these different occasions. So if you set up only an ad that's generic for private events, it's not going to resonate with that group, right? So that happens, and that's why this doesn't work many times. Then I use specific landing pages or web or instant forms when it comes to Meta. But so you're running, again, a generic ad, and it's not going to a specific landing page. They're actually sending them to your homepage. So if you go to a homepage for a restaurant, there's a lot of things there. They're not really going directly where they need to go. Okay, so that's something that we see, and that causes problems, right? Okay, so no strong call to action or offer. Again, they're just kind of promoting this generically in a generic way. We have private events, but there's no call to action either. We have this type of offer or get a quick quote or anything like that that's going to get the attention and help the other people take that action. Okay, so slow follow-up on incoming leads. That's the biggest hurdle that we see. Again, as I said, there's 10 to 15% close rate, and all the leads that are coming in, that means the follow-up is not happening. Okay, so that's a very that's a difficulty that we see and a problem that we see all the time. Again, this is what I just mentioned: people sending, running ads and then just sending them to the homepage. So people are going to get lost. They're not going to go into your private events page and then fill out a form or then call you. That's not going to happen. Okay, people's attention is very short. Okay, anyways, so that's the the first part of this. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right. All right, I see that. Okay. Should I be creating landing pages for every campaign that I have? Well, yep. Ideally, yes. We're going to cover that more in the detail in a little bit later. Okay, so that was what I would say. Okay, how can I best leverage guest reviews for my campaigns? We'll talk about that as well, Thomas. We're going to get into the reviews as well in a second. Okay. But let's go into and how you can leverage that and how you should be sending people a feedback request after you host an event, okay? All right, so let's get to it. Can paid ads really drive ROI? The answer is yes. We see it all the time, right? It just has to be done properly. So I'm just going to show you a couple of case studies, a couple of quick examples here. This is a restaurant in New York City. In 2 weeks, they got over 17 leads. There's 9 booked events from those leads that they got. And they only spent $692, and there was $18,000 in revenue generated for that. There's another restaurant in Miami. These guys, there was 45 leads in the first 13 days. So again, if you're doing it properly, then you can get quite a bit of leads. You can see here, the cost per lead was only $6. That represents about $11,000 in revenue. These guys have a few locations, also Broward County in Florida. These guys generated over $21,000 in sales, 53 leads in 30 days. Okay. This is another part of them. They actually did this. We did this for catering, and we got over 87 leads. Okay. That generated over 17,000 in revenue. Okay. So those are just some examples. Again, if you do it properly, you're going to be able to see these type of results. Okay. So now I'm going to walk you through the blueprint, okay, and how you can implement this on your site. Okay. So how does this work? It's fairly simple when you see this in the overview, right? When we're going to get into the details on the technical stuff. So we're going to get a little technical in this session, but the idea again is to show you exactly how to do this so you can do it yourself. Okay. If you guys have questions again after, you can let me know. All right. So simple enough. What we're going to be doing is focusing on ads and paid ads on Meta. That means Facebook, Instagram, and then we're going to be doing Google Ads. Okay. And there's a specific way of doing that. We're going to be running those ads. You get leads. You're going to get notifications. They're going to be sent out to your events manager or to your sales manager, whoever it is that you have in place for this, so they can follow up immediately. The important thing here is immediately, because if you don't follow up immediately, you can lose that lead pretty quickly. Okay. Then after that, of course, then you have the chance of closing that sale. Let's say that doesn't happen, then there needs to be a follow-up, right? If that person doesn't answer in the moment, and not just one, but up to 6 follow-ups so they can close that sale. We're going to get into those details. So basically, this is how it works. What we do also, besides doing this, is putting them in a email sequence, basically sending them more information about events and then more information about the restaurant, because you already have their data, right? And you already have them in that pipeline, so might as well do that. So it just kind of nurtures that leads and makes the sales process a little bit easier. And then at the end, once they have the event, we send them a feedback request to gather feedback and see how they did. So how to structure, we're going to start first with Meta. We're going to start with Facebook. So how to structure your campaign with Facebook, okay? So there's a lot to this. Again, I'm going to do my best in giving you all the information, but if you have any, questions, again, we'll answer those. Okay, so the way that you want to do this is, first, you need to create an ad account if you don't have one. It is, okay, so it's very different boosting a post, which again, Facebook is going to ask you to do that all the time. When you go into your Facebook page or your Instagram page, it just says boost post, right? And many people fall into that trap. They just boost it and it just goes everywhere. Okay, so you got to be careful with this. Never do that. There's a Facebook ads manager that you need to use, right? And create an account with that. And then you're going to be able to run the ads from there. That's the first thing. If you're not familiar with Facebook ads manager, again, reach out to me later and I can kind of walk you through that a little bit later. But anyways, just make sure that you have this in place. Okay. Now, when it comes to the campaign objective, what you're going to be setting up here on Facebook is you're going to set up a leads campaign. Okay. And then you're going to select instant form. That means that person that's seeing this ad is going to complete, right? Once they click, they're going to complete a form within Facebook. Okay. So it makes it really easy for people. The user experience is great. So people can really, it makes it really easy for them to provide you with their data and request whatever they're going to be requesting. But in this case, we're going to show you, you're going to be requesting a quote. Okay. Now, when it comes to your budget, it really depends how much you have available for this. But what we normally recommend is to spend $10 per day per ad set. Okay. An ad set means a group of ads or one ad. It just depends how you set it up. Okay. And you're going to run this for 1 or 2 days. Once you see the results on that, then you're going to be making adjustments. So we're going to get into that in a second. Okay, I'm just giving you the summary here first. Then you need to create ad groups broken down by event occasion. Like I said, people are searching by occasion. They're not just searching for restaurants with private events. If they're thinking of a baby shower, right, and they're having a baby shower, hosting a baby shower, they're going to be looking best restaurants for hosting a baby shower, right? And even if you're doing, and if you're doing social, you want to have an ad creative, and then your audience needs to match the people that are interested in hosting a baby shower. So that's right. It's really important to break those ad groups because then you're going to be talking to people with the right audiences, talking to the people that are interested in those specific events, okay, that they're looking to host. Okay, so audience is key. We're going to get into that in a second. In the next slide, where I'm going to explain a little bit more on that and how you want to set these up for them to work properly. This is key. If you don't have the right audience and you're running ads, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so this is crucial. So write compelling copy, of course, that's a given, but many people fail to do that. Primary headline and lead form copy. Okay, the lead form copy must match your ad copy. Okay, so what we see sometimes is that they're running ads with certain copy, and then they go into the lead form. Their lead form, the copy is completely different, and then there's a mismatch. So you lose that prospect, right? When they go into that page, they're not going to enter the information. They're going to get confused. Okay, so that needs to match. So you also need to do a lot of testing. Okay, this is where also a lot of people fail. They'll just run one single ad, again, a generic ad, to everyone. So that's not going to really work. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're testing multiple ad creatives. I'm going to show you some examples, right, per ad group, so that you can really determine which one's going to get you the best performance. That means your lowest cost per lead, right, and the most leads possible. Okay, and there's 2 ways of setting that up. There's going to be dynamic, So you can see on your ads manager, it's going to give you the option of setting a dynamic ad. That means that within one ad set, you can set up multiple ad creatives. Okay, so different images, different videos, different headlines, different primary text for each one of them. Okay, and Facebook's going to just show it to, it's going to show all of these different ads, all of these different variations, and it's going to pick basically the winner. Okay, and you're going to start seeing the results, and then you can turn off the other ads. But the other method, what happens here is when you're running dynamic ads, is that Facebook, once it picks a winner, it doesn't really give the other creatives a chance to run. Okay, so it'll just allocate the budget to the winner. So dynamic ads, you can test it and try it, because I do recommend to do so, but sometimes that happens. So another method that we use, and that when we like sometimes, is to do this, what we call the shotgun method. So that means that you're running an ad set per ad creative. Okay, so that means one image, one primary text, one headline. Then you duplicate that, and you create one image, a different headline, and different primary text. Okay, so you try all these different variations, and you just keep duplicating them, right? So you're going to test all of these different variations until you really find a winner. So Facebook there is going to really give the chance to each one of those ads to run and get in front of people, so then you can determine if they're effective or not. Okay, so that's really the best way to evaluate it. Okay, so next we're going to get into the CTA. Okay, so what does that mean? Call to action. That means that you have to have a strong enough call to action that people are actually going to want to click on that ad. Okay, so what do we normally use for these ads is get a quote. Okay, in the primary text is just get a quick quote, because people want things fast. So make sure that you have that there. But also when you're setting that up on Facebook, you're going to see get quote is going to be your CTA. Okay, so have that in place. Ongoing testing and tweaking. Like I said, once you start running ads, you need to go in there and look at the results. The idea here is once you start running them, the day after, you want to go in there and see where you're at. Okay, so you don't really overspend, and you know which ads are going to be performing well and which ads aren't. Okay, so KPIs to look at once you start running these ads. What do you need to look at on your end? Okay, so cost per lead, of course, and when it comes to cost per leads, it depends on your ad creatives, but and your audience. Those are going to really determine your results. But normally we're looking at something between $6 up to $15 or $20. If you're in that range, you're fine. Again, it just depends on the restaurant, on your restaurant, your concept, your area, your and you know, a lot of different variables, but that's kind of the range you're looking at. Okay, so it's just going to depend on a few things. Cost per click, that's also important to look at, how much it's costing you per each click, right? Then your CTR, if anything's above 1% for your CTR, that means your click-through rate. Okay, so that's okay. It's not the greatest, but that'll get you results. Okay, so if you're above that, then fantastic. So the way that you're going to get above that is actually normally it's going to be with the quality of your ad creative. Okay, and we're going to get into some of those details. Link clicks, also important, of course, to see what's happening. If you're getting a bunch of clicks, but you're not getting any leads, right, or conversions, meaning people are not filling out the information, that means it's not working, right? So they might be attracted to your ad, but then once they get to the landing page or to the form, sorry, the instant form, and they see the information there, that might be your problem, right? Because they're interested in the app, but once they're there, they're not going to enter, they're not entering the information. Something's missing there. So you got to look at that to see what's happening. Frequency, this is just how many times you're getting, these people are seeing your ads, right? The same person seeing your ads. So you want to look at that. If you're high, if you're around 5, then that means it's showing too many times to the same person and the ad's not working. So you don't want to use that, continue to use that ad, okay? Budget spent and reach, of course, is important because you want to really know if your ads are showing, because you got to look at your budget spent and see if it's actually, if you're spending the money, if it's Facebook is actually showing it to people, because that happens sometimes that you see that the budget spent is very, very small. That means your ad's not being shown to enough people. Okay, so you can't really make the decision based on that. Okay. All right, so some ad group examples here. This is a screenshot of something that we do here. So as you can see here, you have your corporate, right, ad group. You have your wedding rehearsals, wedding rehearsal dinners, you have baby showers, you have birthdays, and you have a generic ad, which really speaks more to everybody, okay? Now, you got to make sure that each of these is matched to the right audience, okay? But this is just an example of how you can break down your ad groups. Okay, so how are you going to be targeting the right audience? This is crucial because, like I said, you can have the ad creatives that are great. You can have, you know, you have your ad groups and everything set up, but if you're not reaching the right audience, you're not going to get anywhere, okay? You're not going to get qualified leads and you're not going to get many leads, okay? So First, you got to look at your audience size. And I know, of course, we're not going to be targeting, a huge area around your restaurant, depending on the concept that you have. But normally you want to stay within 10 miles around your restaurant, right? 10, because again, people when they're planning private events, they're willing to drive a little bit more. Okay, so 10 miles is usually a good benchmark. Okay, but also you got to make sure, depending again on your ad group, that you're reaching the right audience. We're going to get into that in a second. Okay. Start broad and then narrow. What does that mean? So on Facebook, it allows you to basically be very broad when it comes to your audience, but it allows you also to set some interests, right? Some, and I'm going to show you exactly what you can do there for each ad group. So then you can really reach the people that are most likely to be interested in what you're running. So let's say you're running baby shower, and you want to run an ad for baby showers, right? For people that are interested in booking events for having and hosting a baby shower. So Facebook allows you to add specific interest, right, and specific information on the audience, which is going to get to the people that are most likely to be interested in this, okay? And I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. Okay, so use your database. So many people don't have, they don't know that you can actually use your customer database, import it into Facebook, right? And you can first target those people there, but secondly, you can also basically create a lookalike audience. That means an audience that's very similar to the one that you have from your database, and then target only the people around your 10-mile radius that are similar to your customers. So Facebook will allow you to do that. So that's very cool. And what happens with that is that the quality of leads that you're going to be getting, they're going to be much higher. Okay. So definitely do that. So the way you want to do that is you want to test both, right? You want to test prospecting. That means just broad, okay? You're not using your lookalike audiences or your list. You're just going broad with Facebook, and you're gonna use certain interests. Let's say babies. We're giving the example of the baby showers. In the interest, you can set up baby showers. I'm gonna show you an example again in a second. Okay. So first you go broad, and then once you test that, if you're getting good enough leads and the quality is good, then you can go with that. But normally what you want to do after that, which happens, is you want to go a little bit more narrow, use your list, use your lookalike audiences. And again, it's quality of leads and the amount of leads, it usually improves, okay? But you got to do a lot of testing. This is not just a straight path. But these are the basics that you need to follow so you can really figure out the best system and the best way to do this so you can get the most leads possible and the best quality of leads possible, okay? So then we talked about this, define each audience per ad group, okay, baby showers, birthday events, right? That breakdown, use detailed targeting when it makes sense, and it's possible. Like I said, detailed targeting in Facebook is possible, and for certain things, like I said, for baby showers, it is. There is a part when you go into the detailed audience section, and here's an example. You can see here for baby showers, and this is what we've done here. You can match people for people that have interest in motherhood, diaper bags, right? All of these things. And there's actually a section here for there's one interest for baby showers. Okay, so you can go as broad as just setting up baby showers and that's it, nothing else. Or you can test going into baby showers and then having more interest in all of these things related to babies. That makes sense, right? Because normally people that have already a kid, they might be expecting another one, or they know people that will. They're kind of like most of the time they're aligned in that age range and interest. Okay, so that's why you do that. So in this case, I'm just giving you here an example. We did a custom audience, right? That means lookalike audience with that list. Then we also narrowed it down by zip code, right? So they can target only that area. And then we had all of these match types for interest, right? So they can really get a little bit more narrow into reaching the right audience so you get qualified leads, okay? There's another example here of a more generic campaign. Again, we're reaching kind of the same zip codes here, but they were including all the different interests, okay? So people having birthdays and not during that month or the month after, people that are friends of those people that are having birthdays. So you can get really, once you're doing this, you're going to see all the available interest there on Facebook. It allows you to do all of these things, okay? So firstly, for our generic campaign, we're going to include all of those, okay? Now, for another thing that you can do, of course, then you can also do strict retargeting, but we try not to do strict retargeting because your audience size is going to be very small. That means you're retargeting only people either in your database or somebody that has visited your website or that has been to your website or your social channels. So you can get in front of them, and the chances, of course, for them to book in something, if they already know your restaurant, they're actually good, but your cost per lead is going to increase quite a bit, right? We're trying to get in front of other people, okay? That's just one note of that. Okay, so now write compelling ad copy. That means your ad copy, of course, needs to stand out. Okay, so when you're running this ad, So think about what sets you apart, okay, for your restaurant. Because sometimes, there's sometimes we run into a little bit of difficulties, right? We had a client that had a restaurant that's it's a little far out, right? It's in a place that it's not there's not much foot traffic, right? So we needed to find out, okay, what makes that restaurant unique? So we can write the ad copy based on that and make people interested, right? Get people to be interested in this. So if it's in a place that's not so visible, so then we create the hook of, okay, it's a hidden gem, right? Because it's a beautiful restaurant, it just set in a place that it's not so visible. Okay, so then we use that type of wording. Okay, that's the hook. That's what you want to think about. What makes your restaurant unique, okay, and different, and then use that to create a copy. Okay, use ChatGPT or other AI tools for writing. Okay, you're gonna give that platform all this information, and it can help you write this ad copy. Okay, make your headlines under 55 characters. Use emojis sparingly. Don't use them everywhere. But just some tips here when it comes to copywriting. Test multiple headlines and primary text. That's what I was talking about. Just go back to testing. You need to test all of these things to make sure to see which ones work the best, that resonate with your audience, and then you can really improve performance. Okay, so here's some examples. Okay, this is for a restaurant, Michelin star restaurant, but this is just some of the ads that we ran. Okay, as you can see here, we're running multiple ad creatives with different. Some had the same headlines, some had different headlines, but this is just an example of what you can do. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Okay. What works the best that we see is when you're using either user-generated content. I know you have to get permission for that first from the person that actually generated that content, or if you have any type of content that has people in them. We see better results when that happens, okay? But again, you got to test, because sometimes you'll be surprised. You get really good results from ads that only have a beautiful picture of your spaces, okay? So you got to be testing all of these things, okay? So lead forms, like I said, some of the things that you need to consider here when you're doing these, this is what a lead form looks like, okay, on Facebook, if you haven't seen one. And so you need to make sure that your copy on your ad matches your lead form, okay? So then there's no discrepancies between those. Also, make sure you select higher intent on your instant form. There's a part there where you can select it, because you can actually build for high volume or for higher intent. So select higher intent. Okay, so people have to review their information before submitting it, because Facebook is going to auto-populate your name and phone number. Okay, so some people just fill it out like that really, really quick. They don't even know, and they just send it. And so the quality of the leads sometimes, it's going to decrease. Okay, so select higher intent. Clear CTA, make sure that, of course, you're giving them the information that asking for the information that you want them to give you. Make sure that you have qualifying questions. That means that you can insert some questions there so that people are actually filling out the form. They're taking the time to think about what they're doing. Okay. So for example, we require a minimum of 10 guests to fill out this form. We put it there very clearly. And then we have other questions that we ask them, like event, the date, the time, right? And the number of guests. Okay. You don't want to make it too long, but not too short when people just, sometimes they're just, oh, that's cool. And they just fill out the information really quick and they send it. And then nothing comes from out that. Okay. All right. So that's it for Facebook, guys. Then the leads will start coming in once you start trying this. And again, you got to be testing this. And this is when it comes to Facebook. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the follow-up a little bit later. But now I'm going to get into Google, because you can run both. Okay. And I know I'm getting a little technical here. I don't know if how well-versed everybody is on this, but again, I need to show you exactly how I do it so you can implement it, okay? Or the person that you have designated in marketing can watch this later, and they can go in and do this for you guys, okay? All right, so how to structure your Google ad campaigns. Google is a whole different animal, okay, when it comes to that, because Google, the way they have with social, you're getting in front of people, right? They might not be looking for you specifically, but you can get in front of them, okay? Now with Google, the difference is there's a search intent, okay? They're actually going in their computer, on their phone, they're actually looking for places, to host their baby shower, okay? So here, the difference is, yes, you can get pretty good leads and good quality leads, but also, again, there's a higher intent, but your cost per lead normally is going to be a little bit higher, okay? So the way that you want to do this also is break it down into ad groups. This is very similar to what I spoke about in social. Okay, you break it down to as many ad groups as you possibly can. Okay, so meaning graduations, there's going to be one for wedding rehearsal, one for bridal showers, there's going to be one for birthday events, there's going to be one for just the generic audience. Okay, so you break it down like that. Then set up your conversion tracking. That's a must. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through some of those details there. Make sure you have a strong understanding of keywords, because Google wants to take your money. right? So if you don't select the right keyword that match type, let's say there's three. There's broad, there is phrase match, and then this third one is exact match. That means the broad, anything that relates to whatever keyword you put in there, related to, let's say, the private events or event for baby showers, whatever it is, anything sort of related is gonna show it to people searching for that. Okay, so you're gonna waste a lot of money because they're just gonna click on your ad and it's not the right people that are seeing your ad. Phrase match, it needs to match the phrase that you're putting there as a keyword. Okay, so also again, Google wants to take your money. Sometimes it matches it to stuff that it doesn't even, it has nothing to do with it. Okay, so we try to stay away from that. Okay, because we see sometimes or many times that there's a lot of money spent and you're not getting the quality leads, right? Or you're not getting the leads. So we'd really narrow it down to exact match. So whatever people are typing when they're searching, it needs to be exact to what you have on your keywords. Okay, so that means you're going to have need to have a very extensive keyword list. So, and let me just backtrack a little bit if you don't know what a keyword is. So a keyword is whatever people are searching for. So let's say private dining near me. Okay, so all of those words are keywords. Okay, so again, when you're doing exact match, you want to write as many words like that, and Google will allow you to do that, to search for those keywords in the keyword planner. So just go in the keyword planner on your Google Ad account. You can enter a few keywords like that, private dining near me, and then it'll throw you all the keywords related to that. Okay, so that's how you figure that out. So right, and the next thing is you need to write compelling text ads, of course. They need to resonate with your audience. Google is not as creative as social. Here you need to be very straightforward. It doesn't need to be crazy copy, okay? But it's just, again, it's a higher intent, but just be concise and straight to the point. That's what I would suggest, okay? Leverage ad extensions. Of course, you need to show up. I'm going to talk about ad extensions. You can actually add more text to your ad, so it really, the amount of space that it occupies on the screen is going to be more, right? So that you will stand out in comparison to your competition. Okay, you have to land visitors on a landing page. Like I said before, people sometimes are running Google Ads and they're sending people to to their home page, right? So that's not going to work. You're not going to get leads that way. Okay, so you need to make sure that you build a landing page that's specific for this. Okay, you can use platforms like, if you're not using your website to build a landing page, you can use platforms like Unbound. Okay, which allows you to create landing pages. Very simple. It's a drag and drop kind of deal, right? You make sure that you have your form on the right side of the page, or just very or easy to find on your page once you land there, so then people can fill out the information, right? Or if you're giving a phone number to call, make sure that it's visible. Okay. Ongoing testing, tweaking, fine tuning. Like I said, that's always the case in every ad that you run. Again, this is just an example of the ad groups how you can break it down in terms of the groups that you're using: baby showers, birthday, corporate events, private dining, a generic campaign, and this is wedding rehearsals. Okay, and these are just some examples of some of the ads that we run. As you can see here, there's always a very clear CTA: call now, right, and get a quick quote. Okay, so those are the things, those are the hooks. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're giving a discount. Okay, but it can be a strong a hook like this, because and you can still really get results. Okay. Like I was talking about, when it comes to ad extensions, as you can see here, I just put a couple of examples of some ads that you can find online. And as you can see here, your ads are pretty small, right? And they're not doing it properly. But in the other example that we're putting here, look at how much more space you can get when you're adding the ad extensions, okay? Because you're going to occupy more real estate on the page, okay? Conversion tracking, like I said, is super important. Make sure that you use a platform like CallRail, right, which really helps you to track any calls that happen on your landing pages, on your ads, and you can track it all the way back to the keyword that generated the call. Okay, so this I'm going to brush through because I don't want to get too much into details because it gets really technical, but just something to consider. Again, your provider can help you to do this if you have one, right? Because they'll know about this. Okay. All right, keyword types matter. Like I said, you have broad match, phrase match, exact match. Make sure in this type of, what I would suggest in this case, you can use some phrase match, but stay closer to exact match most of the time. Okay, just make sure that you have an extensive list of keywords, meaning you can match as many searches as possible of whatever, because people are going to be searching for a bunch of different terms, right? So you want to include as many as possible, so you have the best chances of matching with that, and you're going to get the best qualified, the most qualified lead that way. Okay, so pay attention to negative keywords. If you're doing exact match, this is not as relevant. But if you're doing first match, yes. So you want to have a list that you're going to be building over time of all negative keywords. That means people sometimes type different keywords that have no relation to what your ad, but your ad will still show up, and then you're losing money because they're clicking on your ad and they're not really interested in that, in your what you have to offer. Again, I said, make sure you land them in a good landing page, not only nice looking, but make it easy for them to be able to fill out the form. And yes, ask for information, but don't ask for a ton of information. You know, this is not your, again, in your homepage, you can do that. Sorry, and you're not on your homepage. In your website, you can do this. In your private events page, but when you're running ads, you don't want to request for a ton of information. Okay, just the basics, so you can get back to them, right? And then you can follow up with close sale. Okay. Now, lastly, I will just mention this. This is not for everybody, but if you can, I would recommend to have a CRM tool. That means like all your leads are going to be feeding into one place. If you have, you know, Triple Seat is one that a lot of restaurants use. I know there's Gather, there's other platforms out there. We use a different type of tool because it helps with automation. Okay, but it's good to have because you can consolidate all the leads that are coming, and then you can see, you know, you can reach out to them a little bit easier. You can consolidate, and it's easier for the follow up. Okay. And if you have a CRM tool like this, again, you can set up automation. So meaning once the lead comes in, you can set up automatic notifications to yourself or to the events manager that they can get a text or email. Okay. So they know when that's coming in. Okay. You can set up, you can do a lot of other stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but just something to consider. All right. So anybody have any questions so far? I know I've covered a lot. And again, I got pretty technical with this whole thing, but I want to make sure that I address any questions that you may have right now. Okay. So is there a difference between higher intent and higher volume? Yes, there is a different. There is. So like I explained at the beginning, that goes more to the social. When you set the form into higher volume, it sounds appealing, right? Because you want more volume of leads coming to you, right? But if you do that, again, the quality of the leads can suffer because Facebook auto-populates their phone number and name, and sometimes, you know, they're not really paying attention. Okay, and those leads might not be the best. So you want them, you really do want to have the higher intent, meaning they're going to review the information that they're submitting, and before, you know, they can see their name, everything that they're doing properly, and so it just helps, you know, to qualify the leads a little bit further. Okay, and it just makes it a little bit easier. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, how often do you check the campaign? Okay, so for this, you want to make sure that when you start running the ads, guys, like the first couple of days, you're really looking at this, okay? And you should be looking at this actually every single day, honestly, because if you're spending this money, you want to see what ads are working, which ones aren't, and when you're not working, turn them off, okay? You don't want to keep running those ads. You want to see the ones that are converting the most, giving you the most leads at the lowest cost possible. If those are not working, you need to switch your creatives. If you switch your creatives and that's not working, then you got to look at your audiences, okay? If your audiences, because your audiences can determine a lot of what's going to happen, okay? So those are the things that you want to be really checking this regularly, okay? And once you're on the initial test run, let's say you're running 6 different creatives, right? Or 10 or whatever, or multiple, and there's multiple ad sets, you're going to be spending quite a bit of money in a day, okay? If you're running at $10 a day. So on the second day, or after you run those ads, go in there and see what's happening. Okay, if they're not producing results, turn them off and just keep the ones that are performing the best. Okay, and if they're producing a cost per lead that's, let's say, $50 or 30 or whatever, I mean, the first day that's not going to happen. But let's say you let them run, and if that happens, you got to turn those off. Okay, because that's not going to be. You don't want to be wasting your money. Okay, same thing with Google. Again, if you're getting clicks and you're not getting conversions, there's something wrong. Okay, there's something wrong either in your landing page. There might be something wrong again in a keyword match that you're using. So they might be getting the people that you're using broad match or phrase match, and it's not really working. Okay, so you got to be looking at all those details. Okay. All right, what is the average cost per lead? You should be looking, again, it just depends on the platform. If you're looking at Google, it's going to be a little bit higher. Normally it's in the range between $15 and $30 per lead. Again, if you're booking events, that's okay, right? I'll take it because each event, I mean, depending on your venue, but it's going to be around normally anywhere in the range between, let's say, 500 for the low end, and then up to, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10,000. It just depends on the size of your venue, right, or of your restaurant. So those are the things that you need to consider. All right, and when it comes to social, actually, your cost per lead, you're going to be, again, depending on your ad creative and your audience, but you can see anything between $4 up to 20. Okay, so anything you want to keep, of course, at the lowest possible, but sometimes depending on where you're at and you're on and your restaurant and everything, it can be a little bit higher, and that's okay. Again, if you're closing one of those leads for one of those events, it's totally worth it, right? The ROI is there 100%. Okay. Okay, guys, so let's continue. So quick note here when it comes to the follow-up, because I mentioned this at the beginning. The follow-up is extremely important, and we see this happening all the time, not just from organic leads, okay? Organic leads means just people like submitting their information from your website, or just asking information somehow, right? Calling, whatever. And the events manager many times is busy doing a lot of work, and they don't have the time to be following up, right? Or to answer that call, or to answer that lead when it comes in, like through their email. So if that person can't do it, then I would very strongly suggest that you find somebody that can, because then these are just the stats that I'm showing you in this image. For example, if that lead doesn't get responded to in the first 5 minutes, there's 10 times less of a chance that they're actually going to turn into a sale. Okay, so that's how important the immediate follow-up is. Okay, so make sure that whoever's doing this in your restaurant, right, on your venue, is doing this. If not, let's try to find a way to make this happen. Okay, because it really makes a difference. If you're going to be spending money and running ads, right, and you want to make sure that you have somebody that can follow up quickly. Okay. Anyways, so get them while they're hot. Next thing is persistence. That means sometimes what happens, and we see a lot, and this is important, is that they will get the lead, but once they get the lead, they will follow up once. Let's say they call them, right, or they send, they shoot them an email back saying, hey, yeah, thanks for your interest, and the person doesn't reply, and then it's considered lost. They don't follow up. They only follow up maybe once or twice, and that's it. But there's the money is going to be in the follow-up, guys. So you need to follow up consistently, at least 6 times. That's what we would recommend. And because we see it all the time. Again, sometimes people get busy, right? They submit the information and then they go to the office, or they're with their kid, or whatever it is that's happening. And so then they can't really get back to you in that moment. Okay. So you need to consistently, follow up with them. They might be looking at different options. Okay. But if you follow up enough and in the right way, your chances of closing that sale are much higher. Okay, so something to consider. So, like I said, respond fast to incoming leads. Ideally, you want to set up instant notifications through SMS, right, and email, so that whoever's in charge of the events, if it's the events manager, great, she'll get an SMS every time a lead comes in. Give them the information of the lead, right? So in this case, this is how we present the leads to our clients in an SMS, right? It says, if there's a new private event submission, it says the name, the email, the phone number, the size of the party, and the date of the event. So that person, the events manager, can just click there on their phone number and can call them right away. Okay, that's the fastest way of doing it. Okay, we don't want to wait until she's in the car or whatever, and then she's got to go through their email. No, so you can call right then and there. Okay. Anyways, something really to consider, because it's going to help you close more sales. Now, call scripts. This is something important, because sometimes, events managers, they're considered to be able to do everything, but sometimes they're not well trained in doing the actual follow-up, right, on the actual sales call. So build scripts is going to help them make it easier. Okay, where you can just tell them, hey, this is how you talk, to somebody when you have an incoming lead, and this is the way that you follow up, right? So you can get those scripts you can look them up online. There's different, of course, sales resources out there where you can get this information and help, make this process a little bit easier. Now, if you're trained in that, or your events manager is trained in this, and she's great at doing sales, and that's okay. Then she'll know what to say. Okay. Make sure you also have a hook or an offer. So when the person gets on the phone with a lead, they'll have something to offer besides just information, right? It might have, hey, yeah, actually we have this special right now because of graduation season coming up in May. So if you're interested, this is what we have to offer, right? Or come in for a space tour and come in for a free tasting of our menu. Right, that's great if you see if it's an event that could be really valuable. Let's say it's a $10,000 or $20,000 event. Why would you mind inviting them to the restaurant? Right, they're going to see your spaces, they're going to taste your food, they're going to be way more likely to buy. Okay, and then have a follow-up plan. Like I said, follow up to 6 times. Okay, when you're getting those leads, make sure it's not just one call and that's it. Oh, it went away, and that happens a lot. Okay, we see it all the time. All right, and it used to happen at our restaurants as well. Okay, all right. So last thing I'll share with you is run how to run a database reactivation campaign. What does this mean? If you guys have been booking events, if you guys have been running private events for a while, then you probably have a database, okay? And these people have already been to your restaurant. So the chances for them to have another event at your venue or your restaurant are actually pretty high, okay? So sometimes, and we see this all the time, the database is just sitting there, right? Let's say you're using TripleSeat or whatever platform, you have all that big database there that's been sitting there for years. And I mean, maybe you send them like emails about other stuff, but there is no direct contact, right? Of course, your events manager, maybe if she has, or if you have a sales team, then yeah, that might be reaching out to those people on a semi-regular basis, but sometimes that database is just sitting there, okay? So the way to do this is to create a personalized email. This doesn't need to be a design or anything. It's just an email from the events manager or from yourself saying, hi, this is Sebastian from whatever restaurant. Just wanted to see how your last experience was with us. You can start with that. And if it was a great experience, and then, you know what, I want to let you know that now in May for graduation season, we're offering this, right? Or you can come up with any type of offer, okay? But then you send out that email, and if you have an SMS platform, even better. So you can send them a text and an email, right? If they've opted in, of course, it's a good thing to have. But anyways, you send that information out, and then you'll see responses coming in. Okay, so that's a really easy way to use your database, to leverage your database to get more leads. Now, one thing to keep in mind, don't throw this all at once. If you have a 2,000 contact database, don't send the 2,000 emails or SMS at the same time. Okay, you want to do this in batches, because if not, it becomes a whole thing. It's going to be hard to manage. So do it by 100 contacts at a time. So that's what I would suggest. Okay, once you send that, you're going to start seeing responses. Most people are going to appreciate that you're actually following up. If you do it the right way, like if you're asking how their experience was last time and you're showing like a genuine interest, then people are going to respond in a positive way. Okay. So again, that's just money sitting there on the table. Many times we see that. All right. So this is where we end with this, and we're just going to end with a few things. First is questions to ask your current agency. If you have a marketing agency that you're working with, there's a few things that you can ask them to see if they're doing your work properly. Because sometimes we see that they're working with a certain agency, but they don't really they lack the understanding to ask them the right questions to see if they're doing things right and they're getting the results that they want to. Okay, so what channels are they using to generate leads? They might just tell you Google, right? That happens quite a bit for lead generation. They might not be using social, and they don't see that it could be used for this specifically. What type of tracking system will they put in place? Okay, to make sure that they know that you ask them that, so you really know how they're tracking their results, and they're looking at the right KPIs, and they're looking at the results, right? And of course, at the end of the day, what you're looking at is not just how many leads, how many closed, and what's your ROI on that. Okay, that's the stuff that we want to track. Okay, so how will you track that? The key metrics. Of course, you want to understand if they can provide you what's their average cost per lead that they're generating. Also, if you're going to be setting up a specific landing pages, like I said, it's so important to have a specific landing page per ad group. Also ask them if they're breaking down the ads per ad group, okay, by occasion, if you're talking about private events, okay? If they're driving traffic to the correct place, again, if they're not sending them just to your homepage, because I see that innumerable times. Okay, so like just make sure that that's not happening, because you're going to be losing it. You're just going to be wasting money on your ads. They're going to send you, normally they'll send you a dashboard that says, oh yeah, I got a bunch of clicks, a bunch of people saw this ad, and because of the lack of knowledge, normally, and of course it's expected. I mean, not everybody's a digital marketer, but they see the stats that look pretty, and they're okay with that, and they keep paying this agency for a long time, and they're not really seeing the actual result, the bottom line. But it looks fancy, it looks nice in a dashboard or whatever. Okay, how much testing are they actually doing when they're running the ads? Because that's really important. We test over 250 variations, so that means you got to be doing a lot of testing to make sure you get the best quality leads, right, and the most leads possible. Okay, and also you can ask them if they have a follow-up system. Like I said before, if they have somebody that can actually follow up with those leads. Normally agencies don't have that, but some can have them. As in our case, so they can close that sale. So what makes our campaigns better or different? Again, like as I talked to you guys, as I told you guys, we do a lot of testing, a ton of testing, or 250 variations when it comes to social. For Google, we do a lot of testing as well. We do create landing pages for each of the ads, so it matches whatever people are searching for. And then one of the most important things that we offer is a concierge agent service. So that means when people are, again, submitting information, the lead comes in, we have somebody, a live person calling them, right? To get them on the phone, talk to them, qualify them, and then that person books an appointment with your events manager or with the designated person of that the person that you designate. So that means the chances of closing that lead is way higher. Okay. Also, we set up true conversion optimization. That means we'll be able to track to, from if there's a call that was made, what keyword actually generated that. So we're not wasting money on keywords that don't matter. Okay. So we always optimize to get you the best results possible and the lowest cost. Also, we send instant SMS and email notifications to our events manager or to whoever you designate so they can see the incoming lead in the moment if you're not going to have a concierge agent, so they can follow up immediately. Okay. So that really helps. And complete transparency when it comes to ad spend, for budget, when it comes to AdWords and Meta. Okay. All right, guys, this is a lot of information that I covered. I know I got pretty technical with a lot of things here. So any questions that you guys have? And this is the time to ask them. And we can open it up and I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, let me see. Got a couple of questions here. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. All right. Who should we take to take the care of the calls if you don't have an events manager? Okay. Yeah. Yes, that happens. When you don't have an events manager, like I said, try to find somebody in the restaurant that can take those calls, or right, that can actually follow up with those leads. If you don't have somebody, then I would suggest that you can find an agency that can work with you, and we offer that service of the concierge agent that can be the concierge agent that can be following up with your leads, right, as they come in. Okay, so that's really important that you do so. Okay, and that's the way to do it. Yep. So, yep. Thomas, I see. Okay, yeah, you guys you're interested in our services. Yeah, we can talk later, Thomas. I'm gonna put the contact information there afterwards. I have your info, so for sure I'll reach out if you're interested in us doing this service for you guys. We're happy to do that for you. Okay. All right. Any other question, guys? All right. So again, if you guys need help, here's what we do. We have our program, which is actually everything that I just shared with you. This is our program. Of course, there's more details and a little bit more things that we do on our end to execute this properly. But if you guys need help with this, just let us know. Okay. This is our page. This is our email where you can contact us directly. You can send us an email here. We'll be able to get back to you, and then we can schedule a time to chat. Okay. And that's the scheduling link if you'd like to look at that as well. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for coming. I hope that you guys got a lot out from it. So from this training, again, we'll be sending the replay tomorrow. So you guys will have access to this video, so you can refer back to it, and you can have, again, your provider, or you can have one of you guys can, you can get them to do this for you. Okay. Wow. Hey, Donna. Yep. For sure. I'll send you a message. Give me 1 second, Donna. I'm going to send you a message here. And here is my email that I'm providing to you. So you can shoot me an email directly, or if you want, you can just send me your email here, and I will email you then so we can coordinate a call. Sound good? So anyways, I know it's a little long. Send you the replay tomorrow. You guys can see it. Donna, thank you for reaching out. If you have an email that you can share with me here, great, I'll email you. If not, just send me an email to that email that I put there on the chat, or to the contact@breathmarketing.com. You can send it to me, okay? All right, got it. Donna, thank you. All right, guys, thank you again for being here, and be on the lookout for the next training sessions. We're always, looking to inform and teach and show you guys how you can get the best results for your restaurants or event venues marketing. Okay. Thank you again. And I hope to see you again soon. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.